This is the midterm presentation of Bobba Milk Tea Group. We are 5 members in this group. For this midterm presentation, we want to keep working with our first subject, that is, teaching Chinese as a second language. But this time, we want to analyze the effect of pictograph game-based learning on visualizing Chinese characters for Chinese as foreign language learners. The introduction of our project is based on our motivations. Despite the increasing numbers of Chinese as foreign language learners around the globe, CFL learners still prefer to not learning the Chinese characters alongside its language. It is due to the undeniable challenge of learning Chinese characters. Previous empirical studies found CFL learners unable to identify Chinese characters. Effective multimedia learning designs could improve learning outcomes. Game-based learning has never been approached to overcome this issue. The gap arises with CFL learners' difficulties and appropriate method. This is our framework of study. Pictograph game-based learning, students' motivations, learning achievement, cognitive load, students' perceptions. We also have 4 research questions. Does pictograph game-based learning offer better learning achievement than printed pictograph? Does pictograph game-based learning offer better cognitive load than printed pictograph? Does pictograph game-based learning offer better motivation than printed pictograph? What is Chinese as foreign language learners' perception of pictograph game-based learning? Literature review. Our literature review is based on previous studies, so we selected Game-based learning for Chinese language, Lai and Li 2012. The purpose of this type of game-based learning is to stimulate learners' learning motivation than the main focus of the class instructed. Game-based learning environments have the following characteristics. Provide instantaneous feedback so that teachers can have a real-time grasp of students' learning progress and provide different suggestions in a timely fashion. Can let students exchange the knowledge they have learned among each other. Can let students face learning in a relaxed attitude so they would not feel bored. Usually accompany discussion and socializing activities. The natures and challenges for Chinese as foreign language learners, Liu 2020. Given the limited time allowed for viewing the slides, it may be challenging for beginners CFL learners to understand and correctly recognize Chinese characters. For beginning CFL learners whose native language is based on an alphabetic writing system, Chinese characters may simply be meaningless novel visuals. And finally, pictograph and its impact in learning process, Liu 2020. The pictograph category slides were integrated with visual illustrations to represent the meaning of the characters. When viewing pictograph slides, participants focused more on the picture-like characters due to the use of picture descriptions. For CFL learners, the illustrative nature of pictograph characters seems to make them less ambiguous than phonosemantic compound and compound ideograph characters. CFL learners learned better when the characters were accompanied with explained pictures. Research instruments and tools. We will use 6 different instruments. The first one is the Motivated Strategies for Learning questionnaire. This questionnaire was developed to measure the types of learning strategies and academic motivations used by college students. This is an instrument that uses a 7-point Likert scale. We also will use the Cognitive Load Questionnaire that consists of 8 items. 5 items belong to mental load and 3 items belong to mental effort. We also have a pre-test, a post-test questionnaire, the printed pictograph, and the GBL for experimental group. For the Motivated Strategies for Learning questionnaire, we developed 20 statements. The 10 first statements are motivation statements. The other 10 statements are learning strategies statements. We also have the cognitive load questionnaire items that we developed 8 statements. This is the pre-test rubric. The post questionnaire is a questionnaire based on yes/no answers. For the printed pictograph, we will have the image and also the information about the characters. The GBL for experimental group will be a puzzle. Students will be able to see the pictograph first and then organize the puzzle until they get the right organization of the character. Research method. Methodologies. Our subject, Chinese as second language. Participants, A1 level students. Duration, 4 weeks or 4 sessions. Analysis tool, a repeated measure analysis of variance, ANOVA. A research procedure. For our research procedure, we will have 4 sessions. So the introduction session will be pre-test of students' prior knowledge. The second session will be learning Chinese characters. For the third section, we will divide our group into the experimental group and the control group. For the experimental group, we will use the pictograph plus GBL. For the control group, we will use the printed pictograph. For the fourth session, we will have a post-test of students' proficiency in Chinese characters, a post-survey of students' cognitive load and motivation, and finally the interview. That was our midterm presentation project. Thank you so much for your attention.